In question one, we're given a situation where you've been hired as a management consultant for different companies in competitive industries. And we're trying to figure out whether they should produce a little more output or a little less to maximize their profit firms. And they all have typical marginal cost curves, so they rise as the firm produces more. So we're given four different scenarios just down. Waffle Co., maker of generic brand frozen waffles. The price is $4 per box and the marginal cost is $2 per box. Since the marginal cost is less than the price, you want to produce more. Rio Blanco's price is $32 per ounce, while the marginal cost is $45 per ounce. They should produce less. GoDaddy.com, the price is $5 per website, while the marginal cost is $2 per website. They should produce more. And then Luke's Lawn Service, price $80 per month, and the marginal cost at $120 per month. They should produce less. Ideally, you want the price to equate to the marginal cost. Question 2. In a competitive electrical motor industry, the workers at Gulf Inc. threatened to go on strike. To avoid the strike, they agreed to pay their workers more. At other factories, the wage stays the same. What happens to the marginal cost curve at Galc Inc.? Since they agree to pay more, it moves to the left and up, meaning that the marginal cost will increase for the quantity of motors per month. What will happen to the level of motors produced by Galc Inc.? Indicate the before and after levels. So the blue line will be the before, and the yellow line will be the after. You want to find the point where the curve interacts with the world price of motors. So since we're moving to the left, the output would have to decrease in order for the marginal cost to reduce. In this competitive market, what will Galc Inc. labor agreement do to the price of motors? In order to supply this amount of money to the workers and still produce motors, the price of motors will have to increase. And surely more workers will want to work at Galc Inc. now that it pays wages. Will more workers actually work after labor agreement is struck? Why or why not? Ideally, if more workers were to work there, the wages will inevitably have to fall since the supply will increase. And the company wants to reduce the amount of marginal costs. So though they might want to work there, there's a chance they wouldn't work there due to the chance that their wages would fall.
In question 3, we're looking at the long run of a free market economy, specifically whether or not prices will continue to be higher than necessary because there's demand for it. Well, there's some truth to be what the friend is saying here. In a truly free market, competition is going to drive prices back down. Also, since the demand here is very inelastic, what matters the most is the average cost curve. For question 4, we're looking at Sam, who is selling apples in a competitive industry. From the information given, we know that the marginal revenue is 50 cents, as it's the market price of an apple. For part B, it's safe to say that Sam is going to pick the lower apples first, because doing so lowers the risk of injury and is much easier for him. So we can say that the marginal cost of apples is increasing as supply increases, because Sam needs to pick higher apples, which means putting himself at risk more often than before. Filling in the table, we see that the marginal revenue is constant at 50 cents for the example. Then the marginal cost is our total cost minus the previous quantity's cost. So in order, the marginal costs are 10 cents for one apple, then 12 cents, 28 cents, 50 cents, 73 cents, and $1.05. The change in profit is then the marginal revenue minus the marginal cost. So again, in order, they are 40 cents for one apple, 38 cents, 22 cents, $0, negative 23 cents, and negative 65 cents. So Sam is going to pick 4 apples because that's where his change in profit levels off and stops increasing. In question 5, we're talking about marginal cost, actual cost, and profit. For A, Ralph is going to produce 15 bags of trail mix because that's where the price, or marginal revenue, which is $5, is equal to the marginal cost. In part B, we're looking for the profit at that price of $5 mark. So to do so, we make a rectangle from the price axis with the point at the intersection of $5 and the marginal cost curve, and straight down from there to the actual cost curve, which makes the profit equal to $15. And finally, because his price is above the actual cost curve, we can expect more competition in the future, lowering the price to about $4.
In question 6, we're given 10 quiz grades and asked to calculate the marginal grades and compute the average as it goes along. The relationship between the marginal grade and the average grade is that when marginal grade is negative, average grade is concave down. When it's positive, the average is concave up. So the average begins to increase as marginal grade becomes positive. The marginal grade is positive after the fourth quiz, but the average doesn't increase until after the fifth quiz, because the graph of the quiz grade intersects the graph of the average grade at the minimum average grade. Since the fourth grade was lower than the average after the third grade, the average decreased. But the fifth grade was higher than the average after the fourth grade. So then the average began to increase, and marginal grade was positive from there on out. In question 7, we see a cost function for Simon, and we want to calculate the minimum price that he'd be earning a positive economic profit. Profit is quantity times price minus the total cost. Quantity times price is just total revenue. So total revenue minus total cost, and that gives you the minimum price that you'd be willing to produce a total quantity. So you fill them out on the table and see that the lowest possible price is $48.30, at which you would paint 3 rooms per week. If the price in the market for painting rooms was lower than that, Simon would have to exit the industry as soon as possible because he'd be making a negative economic profit.
For part A of question 8, we're looking at the counting profit, which is defined as the total revenue minus explicit costs. So in this case, it's $1 million minus $900,000, which gives us $100,000. For part B, we want to look at the economic profit of Sandy if she could do another job. So in this case, we want to define economic profit as total revenue minus the sum of explicit costs and opportunity costs. So in scenario 1, we have a $50,000 worth of profit, but for the second case, we have 0, and for the third case, we actually have a minus $150,000 of profit, which means we're not profiting at all, and instead we're losing. For question 9, we're looking at a debate between us and our roommate, where the roommate says the book says that in a short run, fixed costs are expense but not a cost, and we want to differentiate between the two. So we answer that a fixed cost is one that doesn't change with respect to quantity produced. A cost, however, is an amount needed to obtain a certain thing or achieve a certain goal, which is to reach the desired production for a firm. And so it varies with a specific goal. An expense is ongoing and is always there. So in that sense, a fixed cost should be an expense. And that expense is going to be there regardless of whether the desired production level is achieved or not. Now for question 10, we're asked to fill out this table using the very limited information provided. So in this case, we're going to use almost every formula provided in the textbook. So we have a formula for total revenue, total cost, marginal revenue, marginal cost, average cost, as well as profit. The way we start off this question is by looking at the first row where our profit is negative 80. We know that with the quantity 0, there can be no variable cost, and so we know that the fixed cost will be 80. That enables us to fill out the fixed cost for all the other rows. Kind of like filling out the Sudoku, we're using the various formulas and the information already provided to make our calculations. For example, for row 4, we have the total revenue as well as the variable cost, and we also know the fixed cost, and that enables us to fill out the rest. The formula that we utilized the most was the one for total cost, which is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost, as well as the formula for total revenue, which is price times quantity. We do end up seeing a linear relationship between the quantity as well with the marginal cost. And we also see where we hit our maximum profit.